Hi guys, draw with me today. I have a few eye sketches that I want to do, but today I'm going to try out on a face. So the first thing I usually do is the direction with the eyes pointing, because if somebody's smiling or they're frowning or they're happy, their eyes kind of point towards a different direction. Then I make a rough sketch of the shape of the eyes. I don't do this off head, by the way. I always use a reference picture. Now, this, I always smudge it out because I kind of like working with charcoal. So I like to get out all the dark and the light edges out of the way already. Anywhere I see in my reference picture that is dark, I just make really harsh lines on them, smudge them out with my finger, and that's it. You can also do this with a kneaded eraser, because what I have found out is that kneaded erasers work way better with pencils than with my charcoals. Like when it comes to blending it out, it works better with pencils than it does with charcoals. So yeah, that's a tip. So I'm working with the face. It's not just eyes for this particular sketch. I'm working with a face, so I'm going to be doing like little touch-ups here and there. I also like to trace out what the eyebrows look like halfway through my sketch, because it kind of helps me it kind of helps me show the kind of emotion I'm trying to give them, because your eyebrows kind of like move with your eyes, especially if this particular diagram, this person has they do not have open eyelids. They kind of have an inner eyelid, so that is why when they frown, the eyebrow kind of like scrunches inward, and the eyebrows are directly on top of the eyes. I don't know, does that make any sense? I hope it does. I am not experienced in any ways. I learned this from a TikTok account. If I remember it, I will put it up on the screen. She gives really good tutorials, and I was able to learn from her after a couple seconds. Just a few tutorials. She was amazing. Now, you guys, don't be scared of erasing just little tiny places. And I like to do the waterline after the shape of the eyes. Now, what I usually do is, depending on how the eyes look, I will just give a rough sketch of a circle. Like, I'm imagining that that's where the other part of the eye is. This is honestly best when you are drawing eyes, because it's always really hard to draw a half circle. Probably just for me. You can see I already fucked up another half circle. Probably for only me, I don't know. But like, I find it hard to draw half circles, and so I just always tend to stick with really big circles. I can always erase the mess. If you're working with charcoal, it's even easier, because whatever mess you make on top, you can just like smudge it in. Now, I like to really press my pencil in, or my charcoal in, when I'm doing lines that are supposed to be there. This kind of like frame the face and give it more of an emotional depth. Look, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it makes the expression more when you have defining lines around the eyes. The thing about eyes is you're trying to portray as much of an emotion as you're trying to. As you can see, it already looks like a really angry guy, right? That's what I'm trying to go with. And you always remember the cornea. If you're using charcoal, the cornea, did I say cornea? What the fuck am I saying? The corner of the eye and the other edge of the eye is always really dark, and the top of the eye rim is going to be slightly bit darker than the rest of your eye. I will clean that out later, but like, always remember that it kind of makes your eye look more like an eye, I guess. And this is honestly really straightforward. Just remember the eye rim, corners of your eyes really dark. You can use an eraser, you see, like clean the edges of it out and make that part a bit lighter. If you are using colored pencils, you can just use obviously white and kind of red for the outside of the eye, and then really dark pink for the corners of the eye. It makes a really big difference. And then shadow lines on the top, because of your because of the eyelashes, it kind of makes your shadow lines more, that's what makes the corners of your eyes darker. Now, you can always shade in the corneas. I like to shade it in and leave just a little place that isn't really dark. That's what I like to do. it makes a really big difference. And I like to pencil in the corneas. If you're doing this with color pencils, obviously you use whatever color you can. You trace it out. Actually, you trace it out with the color of the person's eyes. Then you go out with a little bit of dark around it just to give it more depth, I guess. Now I like to the same thing I do with the irises, I guess. I do it with the outside of the eye. I like to give a little bit of highlights there, make it look like light is bouncing off of the eye or whatever. I'm just going to go ahead and shade in all the darks in the eyes. It's a full face I'm doing, remember, so usually I would only stop at the corners of the eyes, the cheeks, highlight the cheeks of the eyes, and the surrounding, and also the nose, the bridge of the nose, to make it known that okay, there's a nose down there. But since I'm doing a full face, I'm just going to go down more. And I already did the nose. This reference picture I'm working with has all the features, and I have never worked with noses before, but I think this is pretty good. I usually just stick to eyes because there's something about them for me that I really like. It's honestly just repetitive at this point, just filling out the darks and highlighting the lights, and that's honestly it. It's really straight. I really like working with pencils and charcoal. It's really straightforward. It's honestly just one of the fun things to do.
Actually, I'm making a shit ton
this
of noise.
is really, really optional.
I'm making a shit ton of noise with bad
around
music.
And make my darks dark and my lights light, because I prefer if I have if I have all of that out there. I go over my drawings with a permanent marker when I'm done. That will be later on, and because of that, I always like to make all my finishing touches almost instantly. Since I use a reference picture, I try to make my work as close to the reference as possible. I like to pick out really good pictures of people, and I use that for my references. Now you can see there's a drawing I did above that, and since it's my sketchbook, I don't really like to differentiate my drawing. I just like to do everything at once. And yeah, so his side features, I do the same thing with his side features. I map out my dark areas from my light areas, and I just kind of get through all of that. So yeah, let's do that, I guess. If you're following along, this is what you should have, minus the nose, because I did do that and I did not record the process because I just randomly started doing that in the middle of the night. But what I like to do is I like to put guidelines between where my nose is, where my eyes are, and where the possible end of face is going to be. And one fun thing about doing the nose is you get to play around with your eraser, because the nose has a lot of highlighting and contouring. Makeup baddies would be great at this, but I'm not really going to touch much on this one because I still need to learn how to do lips on a separate page. Then I will come back and complete this drawing because he has lips. And if you guys would like to see that video, just leave a comment down below. The importance of highlighting is to make the indents of the cheeks. It's really important and it's really cool. It's literally one of the coolest things, I think, when it comes to working with pencil. Now I just went over the eyes, and now that I'm done with that, I'm going to use my permanent marker for my eyelashes and eyebrows. So I'm not going to do it on this drawing because it's not done yet. I may go ahead and make some changes later. I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other. I'm just showing you guys my pen has 2 points. I do not use the big point. The big ones I use for bigger outlines or bigger drawings on my canvases, and the small points is what I'm going to be using to add eyebrows into these other drawings I did over here. Now, it's very easy to do the eyebrows. You start with the curve, because I believe everybody's eyebrow kind of curves. Depends, I guess. This particular eyebrow I'm doing it without a reference, but this drawing was done with a reference. You start with the curve, then you kind of just go back, but of course you try as hard as possible to follow the direction of your reference that you are using for your eyebrows. You start with the curve and then you kind of swoop everything backwards. I prefer to use permanent marker pens because they just give this additional value to the painting, to the drawing or charcoal work. It just makes it more sharp and more dynamic, and I love it. I love it so much. And when I'm done with this, I'm going to move to the eyelashes. Whenever it is that I'm done with this, I like to go over it over and over again. And you could just put like little dots of hair around just to make it more unique, For the eyelashes, I like to do this motion. I'm not great. It always kind of turns out like shit. So I always kind of like practice. And that's what I'm going to do here. And of course, you follow it on the waterline. You don't do it with the line on the inside. You do it for the one on the outside. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I already knew that once I started that this was just shit. It looks like a bunch of V's, and of course that one was way too long and it's way too spaced out, but I will be fixing that later. But I don't mind. This is my reference picture for these eyes was a dude, and he don't have a lot of lashes like that, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. For the inside eyes, more of the same motion but the other way around, and the beginning of the lashes always kind of starts like on the inside of the eyes. I really struggle with eyelashes, but I don't fret because practice does make perfect. You see, now the thing about lashes is they don't have to be perfect because nobody's lashes are perfect anyways, unless you're doing like you want to specifically follow a picture. Then you have to practice the shit out of it to make sure that the lashes are exactly like. But I'm not following a picture for the lashes and the brows, so this is just me freestyling. So I don't hate it so much. And I realized that the under lashes were a bit small, so I just went back over it. Usually I would prefer if you do this with a smaller pen so you can give it smaller liners, but that's not bad. Look, it looks really good. So we do the same thing for the other eye, and that's it. It looks great. If you guys liked this tutorial, please leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe.